Hi everyone and welcome back to my channel. As you guys can see, we will be doing a full demo review and tutorial on the Jawbreaker and Mini Breaker palettes from Jeffree Star Cosmetics. These just launched and I did use them both yesterday and I used them today, and I am really enjoying these palettes, but I'm going to tell you why. You're going to get a full tutorial on this look right here and a picture of another look I've used. So if that's something you're into, make sure to keep on watching. Please don't forget to subscribe because I do upload 3 times a week. That is the best way to stay up to date on all the fun stuff I'm posting. So if you want to see us jump into these palettes, keep on watching. So I did already use actually both of these palettes this past weekend. I'm going to throw a picture up on the screen that I posted on Instagram of a Pride look. I used, what did I use? From the big palette, I used Cone and Tasty on the top of the eye with Snack on the lid. And then I took Licorice, Suck, Wow, Sour, and then in here, Foreplay, and a little bit of Bubblegum, just to give myself the rest of that rainbow. And I love how everything blended. Obviously, you guys know I already love the Jeffree Star formula. This is just playing around to see what we can create with this beauty right here. So I'm going to start with Cone, just because even when I am going in with something a little more rainbowy, I still want to make sure that I have a nice defined crease. Because even if I'm going to cover that up with more color later on, it still gives me a nice guide, especially for me with hooded eyes. By taking that here, I know exactly how far up I need to take the color to make sure that you guys can still see it both in person and on camera when I'm like talking with my eyes wide open. I don't even know what I want to do. I'm going to take the shade, I keep gravitating towards like Cutie and Brain Freeze, but since I literally I'm in love with my Blue Blood palette, I'm going to shy away from blues today and go a little warmer, which is not something I typically do. So instead, I'm going to go into a little bit of, I'm going to take Cherry Wet down here, which is a nice pinky red, and I'm going to buff that into the crease. Then I'm going to take a tiny bit of Fuck right here, and I'm going to just blend out the edges with that softer coral. Next, taking a little bit of Raspberry right here, I'm going to deepen up the very outer portion of the eye. On a very small detail brush, I'm going to take Tasty, the brown, and I love that this palette has a cool tone brown. I'm literally just going to take that very gently on the very lower outer portion of the eye, and I'm actually going to work that into the lash line on the outer third of the eye, just to give us a little bit more dimension and smokiness. Then with that brush from before with no additional product, just going to lightly blend that out. And with a touch more of Tasty, that brown, I'm just going to lightly trace the crease. And then one last time, blending out so that there's no harsh brown and you still get a lot of that pink and those berry tones. So I'm just going to pop a brown liner in the waterline, since we're not going in with black. And I did lightly smudge out that brown. I didn't want black because black I thought would be a little too intense because we're going super colorful and I'm using browns to kind of deepen things up. I didn't want it to get too smoky. So I'm going to take some more of that brown shade and I'm just going to lightly set down that black liner. I have no idea what I want to do with the rest of the eye. I'm going to dip into Jawbreaker up here, which is a frosty, almost dual chrome shade, and I'm just going to blend that on the brow bone and on the upper portion of the eye. Yeah, just to give that pop on the brow. Taking a little bit of raspberry, I'm just going to blend and connect the raspberry up here to the outer portion of the lower lash. Now that I have the general shape down, I'm going to dip back into Cherry Wet, and I'm just going to soften those edges a little bit more and blow it out on the outer portion of the upper lid, just to make things a tad more dramatic. Next, on a packer brush, I'm going to take Bubblegum, the vibrant pink right here, and I'm going to lay that on the entire lid. I haven't decided if we're going to be doing a completely matte lid or if I'm going to layer something else over it, but we'll see. Just diffuse those edges. Then with a touch more raspberry, I'm just going to blend where Bubblegum meets the outer portion of the eye. Gotta make sure it's super blended. I think I really like it with just that matte pink, so I think I'm not going to be adding much shimmer there. What I am going to do instead is I'm going to grab my pencil brush, and I am going to grab Cotton Candy, which is that metallic pink, and I'm going to lay that down on the inner corner, and I'm going to take it on the lower portion of the lower lash, and I am going to wet it just so we make sure there's no fallout. Oh, I love that. That looks really nice. The formula of this shade, Cotton Candy, reminds me of the shade Cullinan from Blue Blood, which is such an interesting formula that I really enjoy it. And then I do want to make sure that I take that a tiny bit of the way up the lid, just to make sure there's no harsh lines where it ends and the matte shade begins. And taking a tiny bit more of Bubblegum, the matte pink, we're just going to blend and enhance that on the inner corner. Now, these shades are not known to have a lot of fallout, but if you get a little, just sweep it right away. No issues. All right, so the last thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take a touch more of Jawbreaker, and I'm just going to lay a tiny bit on top of the inner corner just to make it a touch more foiled. Beautiful. So I'm going to take a touch of setting spray just to make sure that matte shade dries down really nicely so that it doesn't crease. And then I'm going to throw on some lashes, and I'll be right back. So I know this is par for the course, but I have been loving the way my lashes have been looking with just 2 coats of mascara, and today is no exception. So I'm actually going to skip the lashes so that you can really see the eye look. I'm just going to throw on a quick lip, and I'll be right back so we can discuss the palette. Okay, so I threw on a peachy lip just because I didn't want it to go too pink with the eye look. So, my thoughts on the palettes. If you can get your hands on the bundle of the 2 of these, absolutely do it. I feel like, you guys know purple's kind of my color. This is going to be such an awesome travel palette just to give you your pinks, your purples. You can kind of get neutral out of this with these 2 shades. Really wearable, super beautiful. As for the massive palette, I think that this might be one of the most well thought out rainbow palettes that I have seen. You definitely get your traditional rainbow shades. On camera, I'm actually going to turn down the ring light so that it's a little less washed out. There we go. So on camera, it still shows a little pastel, but these shades, these 3 up here, the green, the blue, and then I guess in theory the purple in here, are your traditional rainbow. Everything else just happens to be pastel. So you're going to get the best of vibrant rainbow, pastel rainbow. I mean, I went monochromatic with the pink today, and I'm loving it. I showed you guys the picture already of when I went full rainbow yesterday, and that was a lot of fun. I think that as long as you are not afraid to play around with the color and textures, you're going to have a great time with this palette. What I will say, if you're not into color, Thirsty is still going to be my favorite, more neutral palette that Jeffree has come out with. But as a whole, you really can't go wrong with the formula. Now, what I will say is the most special thing. It is going to be the shades Orange Juice here and the shade Cotton Candy up here. Just like out of the Blue Blood palette, which I remember showing you guys that shade Cullinan, this shade up here, it was just so beautiful and creamy, and the formula was so wet on the skin that it just caught the light so beautifully. There were a couple shades that have that texture in here as well, but the fact that he is continuing to use this texture in his other palettes, for me, is very exciting because they are such high quality and they wear so beautifully. So, obviously, you guys know I do love the Jeffree Star palettes. With the exception of Alien, I have all of them. It is such a beautiful formula. It wears beautifully. It blends beautifully. If you're afraid of color and you're looking to just get into color, it works so well. I know there was a lot of hype when the James Charles palette came out, ignoring all the drama and the tea and all that nonsense. The James Charles palette is a pressed pigment palette. It's a lot harder to work with. The rainbows in this palette are just so much easier to use. The vibrant colors, the wearable colors, you can get a super wearable look out of this palette as well. And I think that you're going to be seeing a lot more of this palette. So thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, make sure to give it a thumbs up, and I will see you guys next time. Bye!